Support the Amigos podcast on Patreon or PayPal and receive cool perks and rad swag. Visit our page at everythingamiga.com/support.
Amiga, the first personal computer that gives you a creative edge.
Hi everybody, welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're going to talk about Tiny Little Slug.
A captivating name, Bode.
You know, normally before we start these shows, I like to think of a cool topic, a topic of banter around the subject of the theme of the game. I've got nothing this week. I got nothing to talk about. My slug knowledge is somewhat limited.
You know, the COVID has turned me into a not tiny slug as I slither around the house, like back and forth to the kitchen. Basically, is what I've done.
Are you one of these types of people that things like slugs and snails, do they sort of freak you out? Do they make you shiver?
Right, they're gross, weird, little slimy things.
Yeah,
I don't like them. I don't like to look at them. You know how some kids like to pour salt on them and stuff. None of that. I don't do any of that stuff.
Yeah, that was something that used to thrill me as a child, and now I feel somewhat ashamed. The massacre of slugs that I used to, incur upon them with a jar of salt. Where do you stand on escargot?
I stand firmly away from it, Bode. No, that's a no.
Have you ever tried it?
No, I'm not going to.
Okay.
So it could taste like pizza pie. I don't care. Escargot. Any sort of insect-related food items. Like one time, somebody was like, "Hey, eat this food," and it was like chocolate-covered ants.
Mm-hmm.
You ever had these?
No, I've never had those.
They're crunchy, weird chocolate things. No, none of that. I know that's a delicacy in some countries, but out here in America, we're not eating that stuff. So unless I'm forced to eat it, or worms. Some people eat worms, not me.
Did you ever read the book How to Eat Fried Worms?
That's the first thing I thought of when I said worms. Was that book? I read the heck out of that book. That was a Judy Blume book.
Yeah.
I loved her stuff, and I read that one. It was it's funny, the plot of that book. At the end, the kid eating the worms is sort of like the triumphant star of the book, and he ends the book by not being able to quit eating worms.
He just keeps on going.
That's a weird way to end a book.
It is it's funny how we're 10 years apart, yet that book unites us.
I read most of the Judy Blume authorship from back in the day. She may have written 100 books when I stopped reading them, but I read an awful lot of them. I don't know what it was. They spoke to you as a young person, I think.
They did. They did. Super Fudge.
Read that one.
Yeah.
Tell us the Fourth Grade Nothing. Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. I read all of those.
Then Again, Maybe I Won't.
Yep.
Yeah. Some of those books got a little racy,
Yeah, they did. I learned stuff in there I didn't know.
Yeah, me too.
But I think that's sort of what they were there for.
Probably.
There was a subsector that didn't like her stuff. I don't know if they still exist, but I remember hearing people, deride her. But I mean, I liked it. I thought she was good at communicating with people about our age.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were entertaining. So yeah, I read them all though, man. It took me back. But all that said, I never, after reading the worms one, decided to go out and try eating worms.
Me neither. Not yet, at least. Aaron, let's talk about what's been going on in the Amiga scene. What's been going on our YouTube channel this week?
We've had a pretty good allotment of goodies up this week. Let's start off, Boat, with you did a couple. This took me off guard, frankly. Was your R. Sinclair sort of reboot? You want to talk about your first offering here, which is Frankenstein Jr.?
Yeah, well, every once in a while I glance over to my right and I see the thousands of Spectrum tapes that have been sent to us by many listeners over the year, most notably Roshi. And I thought, well, I want to do something with these. And since R. Sinclair is sort of on hiatus for the time being, why don't I just use my new camera gimmick to show the packaging, to open them up, to look at the instructions, and then just play them for a couple minutes. So these are like little bite-size ZX Spectrum reviews. So we started with Frankenstein Jr. I basically just talk about the packaging, I open it up, read through the instructions, and then I give the game a play. You know, I play it for 5 or 6 minutes, and I really like this format. It's kind of fun. It gives you a taste of some of these games that I don't think Clive's Club was necessarily on the cusp of picking anyway. Frankenstein Jr. is probably no all-time classic for the system, but it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed doing it. So be on the lookout. There's a couple more I've got locked and loaded for the next couple of weeks. We'll release these about once a week, and every couple of weeks I'll just record another set. You can see me record these live on Twitch, by the way. What I do is I usually record 3 or 4 of them in a row and then release them piecemeal on YouTube.
Yeah, I was actually watching you do this live. I believe when you did that bunch. It was surprised but entertaining. I think it's good that you're getting into it. And I can tell you, when I get my expansion for the Amiga that gives me the ability to play all the Spectrum stuff, I will probably jump in head first, because I've got a bunch of tapes over here too, Bo, that I haven't fooled with. So
cool.
That'll be fun. Let's talk about last week's ARG. Some people actually watched this one, so that was good. This was the week we talked about the Game Gear. It came back up on the Retro Rewind, and we actually played 2 games from the Game Gear that involved Sonic the Hedgehog. I didn't realize it, Bo, but there were 10 games released that were related to the Sonic universe on the Game Gear. So they were really toting their own boat here with the best thing they had, which was Sonic at the time.
It's a smart move.
Yeah, it was. But I mean, of course, as you can imagine, you had mixed results on which ones were good, which ones weren't.
Yeah.
But I think we played one good one. It wasn't the one Brent picked here, Sonic Drift. I didn't like this game that much. It was hard to play, but I think Sonic Chaos is a real winner. It's an approachable Sonic game that it's a great one to start off your kid on or something.
Mm-hmm.
You get to play as Sonic or Tails. Tails is even easier to play than Sonic. And, I've never been great at the Sonic games, but I got pretty far into this one. I was pretty proud of myself and had a good time. So if you're into the Game Gear or Sonic or Sega, check us out over there at ARG Presents. You did a little playthrough of this week's game, so that's up to check out. Not much need to be said about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to skip this one because we'll come back to it. So let's talk about, and this got a pretty good reception this week. We did an Insert Disc 2 about my summer vacation.
Yeah.
I was pleased that people actually liked this and were happy with it. And it's basically just me talking about what I did a couple weeks ago when me and the family went up to Blackwater Falls. We had a lot of fun. And me and you had a good talk about that. So if you are interested in the wacky exploits of me, Insert Disc 2 was good time. Boat, last week, we did a live stream. As you know, I like to do a live stream a couple hours after we end the show here on Fridays. And last week, we jumped in headfirst with a more Amiga live stream. And this time out, we started off by playing several different baseball games on the Amiga, because baseball season's here, Boat.
Right.
We tried out TV Sports Baseball, and we also tried out RBI Baseball 2, which were, I would say RBI Baseball 2 is not that good, and I'd say TV Sports Baseball is weird and not that good.
It's such a shame that an all-American system like the Amiga has no good baseball games.
I will say, we did play a couple interesting games, including Bill's Tomato game, which was really good.
That looked really good.
And we played a game to close the show called Wind Surf Willie.
Oh.
Now, I don't know if this game's any good or not, but I will say it's certainly different. It's a different game. It suffers from the Dreamcatcher, like 1/3 of the screen for the gameplay. The other 2/3 are just linked off to a bunch of crap. But it was interesting.
It does. It looks very interesting.
Yeah, and it's right up your alley, Boat, because it's sort of like sailing.
Right.
So that's one to try. But anyway, we had a good time. If you want to watch us play some Amiga games, that's the one for you. We looked at, Boat, you released, oh man, this segment, the Amiga 2020 Amiga Live segment.
Yeah. So there were many triumphs in Amigathon 2020.
Yeah.
This was not one of them.
No, we actually lost money during this, I think.
Yeah, I saw the donations tick back down during the Amiga Live section.
When this came up, because every year we're like, hey, let's play a game with the listeners. That'll be cool. And every year, we both like, oh boy, Here we
Yeah, it's a lot of looking at this screen, a lot of waiting for games to start,
Yeah.
and then just a giving up with the tail tucked between our legs. So
I believe
I think we
Neil-
got one. There was one complete race. I think it was between Duncan Stiles and maybe Paul Kitching. I can't remember exactly who it was, but
I thought was it Paul? Yeah, it could have been. We had no luck on this, and I will say the hoops you have to go through once you're in game are unbelievable in some of these games.
Yeah.
I could never get this to work in a million years. So, but still, if you want to laugh at the idiots, this is the segment for you. Boat, a couple weeks ago, we did a series of Ask the Amigos for August, and you have posted part 2 of this series. We got a lot of good questions. Actually, I listened through this because there was so much I couldn't remember all. I got a kind of a hardy ho out of this, to be honest with you. But so if you want to hear me and Boat answer crazy questions, this is the video for you. So it's up now. And then one more thing before I get to the other thing is that your series This Week in Retro, where you and Neil for Retro Man Cave, your new show continues unabated. I believe was this the 3rd week, Boat, or the 4th week?
I think that this was number 3.
And you want to chat about this for a second?
Yeah, so this week we talked about a bunch of stories. We talked about Sonic. Speaking of Sonic makes his debut on the Super Nintendo. We talked about a new slate of arcade one-up releases, the death of the inventor of the Pixel, and a couple other fun stories. So if you are into the world of retro in general, outside of the Amiga, stop by your local podcatcher and subscribe to This Week in Retro.
Now, there's one more thing I think, and I'm going to let you take the wheel here on this one, but we've got another video that was released this week, a few days ago, from our buddy, our good friend, Jack Flack. Why don't you take this one, Boat?
Sure. So, Rob O'Hara is one of our friends. He's been our buddy for a long time, and we both are huge fans of Rob's podcast work. He has a bunch of shows, but his 2 main shows are Sprite Castle, all about the C64, and You Don't Know Flack, which is about his life, basically. And he just recently brought back Sprite Castle after a couple-year hiatus, and I sent him a message and I said, hey, are you interested in joining us at the Amigos Retro Gaming Network? And he was like, yeah. And so we proudly welcome Rob to our humble abode. You can catch all of his Sprite Castle episodes, all of his new Sprite Castle episodes on the network feed. And you can see all of his YouTube videos where he actually goes through, he does what we used to do. After he produces the podcast, he goes and he plays the game for a while. So I really enjoy this. The first episode is Ye Are Kung Fu, one of our favorites. And you can check this out. And we definitely welcome Rob to both our YouTube channel and podcast feed, but also our Discord community. He's invited his patrons to come join our Discord. And I really love the community that we have going on over there.
Yeah, I can't tell you how excited I am to have Flack come over and join up with us. I think it's great. He's a major reason why we got into podcasting, and his shows I've always enjoyed. And his Sprite Castle playthrough was real fun. And then I believe the audio for this just dropped this very day, the actual podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So check out Rob's stuff. I think if you kind of dig what we do, I think you guys will really get a kick out of Rob. Rob is a very good on the mic. He's a multi-published author and a very skilled and talented fellow, and also just a nice guy.
Yeah. All right, Aaron. Well, that's going to do it for this week's site updates. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Oh, I hear it, Aaron. I hear it rumbling. You can't hear it, of course. But... That's right, Aaron. It's time for this week's Amiga news. We're going to kick things off right off the bat with a new video from our friend Ravi Abbott. What is the Guru meditation error? Aaron, have you had a chance to watch this one yet?
This one I didn't even notice that, so I must have missed it. What's the scoop?
This is one of my favorite things that Ravi has ever done, because the whole first part of this video has nothing to do with the Amiga. He spends a lot of time talking about the history of gurus in Western civilization, just in pop culture in the 60s and stuff. He talks about, there was this group of people in the 70s in England called the Natural Law Party. And these guys proposed a thing called flying yoga. And if you did this flying yoga stuff, it would help you achieve world peace in our time. So if you're watching the video feed right now, you're going to watch this guy spring and take flight. Get ready.
Holy crap.
What do you think about that, Aaron? I think you need to start doing stuff like that. That would be fun.
Well, I need more padding.
So anyway, after talking about sort of the history of gurus within our pop culture, Ravi talks about the history of the High Toro Company, the Joy Board, their sort of vaporware guru meditation game that they always said that they would create, and how that made its way into the Amiga OS.
Yeah, this looks great. Ravi's been on a roll here recently too, Boat. Aside from his work on the podcast, his videos have been on point. His Amiga, the history of the deals and shakeups with Amiga have been really good, and this looks great too. So kudos to Ravi's getting it done. Yeah,
one interesting thing, I didn't realize that someone has actually created a guru meditation game for the Atari 2600. So I may have to check that out at some point.
Is that guy playing it right there?
Yeah, he was playing it right there.
I don't think I'll be playing that game if I've got to sit in that position.
All right, next up, Aaron. This is one for not us. This is one for all you OS4 fans out there. Guess what? There is a new chat client called Pigeon that is for OS4, and this thing integrates Discord, Facebook, Skype, and Twitter into a dedicated chat client for OS4. OS4, now you've never really messed around with OS4 before, have you, Aaron?
No, God, no.
Yeah, me neither. It looks cool. It's always something I'm like, man, one of these days, but I think that this is the one where you've got to pay. It's like it shuts down within 5 minutes if you don't pay. And I haven't really been motivated to pay up for it. But one of these days, I may give it a shot and see what all the OS4 stuff is about. But if you are a person of the OS4 and you want to get Discord going, it's pretty cool. You know, I really like the fact, remember, did you ever use like Trillia or any of those clients back in the day, Aaron?
I did. I was just thinking, this thing didn't add ICQ to the lineup, so I'm out.
Yeah, it actually did. It's right there.
Really?
Yeah, ICQ's on here.
I was just being a jerk.
Yeah.
It wins. It showed me.
Yeah, the on the Mac side, because I was a Mac user back in the day when this thing was more of a thing, and there was a tool called Adium that I used to use, and it combined all of the chat services into one app, and it was super cool. So I'm glad to see that this continues on with OS4.
Yeah, kind of wacky.
Now, Aaron, I know that you watched this one. This is Tenmark's greatest, not his greatest. Well, maybe it could be his greatest. I wanted to wish him a happy 2nd anniversary. This is his latest video, all about his all-in-one Unamiga board. Now, as an Unamiga owner yourself, what did you think about this?
I couldn't believe this. I thought this was pretty wacky, Boat. I'll be honest with you. Tenmark. I don't know if I somehow had an out-of-body experience and stuck my spirit into Tenmark's body, because what he did here was he basically bolted his Amiga to the back of a monitor.
That looks like something that you would do.
This is right. When I watched this video, I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. Here's the protective cover he got printed, or here's this nope, nothing.
It's bare board
it to the back of a monitor, done deal. And I thought to myself, even I would have put something over it.
You would have wrapped some electrical tape around that bad boy, something.
You're saying that in jest, Boat, but black tape would have been covering this thing. I mean, it's what he did was interesting. I mean, you've got effectively what you've got there is a monitor with Amiga strapped to the back end. Okay, I mean, I don't blame him. And if you don't have an Amiga 500 to donate to the Amiga, this would work fine. Well, I mean, I don't know about this. I wouldn't do this personally because this is stuff falls over, stuff gets scraped against walls. You know, I mean, maybe not in Doug's world, but in the world of Aaron, I got crap everywhere, and I would destroy this Amiga board.
Yeah, not to mention the cats get up there, start screwing around on the shelf. It'll be over real quick.
But I do. Part of me gushed. I sent a note. I was like that. That's the ballsiest thing I've ever seen you do in your channel right there.
And I will say it does fit very well on the back of this monitor. I mean, the way that he's got it bolted on there.
Side, that looks great. Well, the part that's shaped like a hook. Nothing.
That's where you hang your hat, No,
that's when
coming from a hard day's work.
You chain to this monitor and use it as an anchor. You got a little thing right there.
Yeah.
This was gutsy. Like I said, this was pretty wacky. Now, one thing I thought about that you could do is like maybe stick this thing in like in just like a keyboard. You know what I'm saying? Like get you a keyboard case, and then, but instead of having a keyboard guts in it, use like a keyboard that sits on top, like one of those rubber ones, and then just literally make the Amiga take up the case.
Yeah.
That way you can have something protecting it. Something that's a little more my speed. But I will say I give kudos to Doug for his wacky exploits.
All right, Aaron, our next story comes to us directly from Amiga Bill. He has done a stream where he invited the author of the Apollo OS onto his stream. Now, Aaron, what can you tell us about Apollo OS?
Well, what he's got going on here, they took an existing, I think it was Eros, and they basically modified it and taken out, this is described on the show, where they basically took the existing thing and they modified it and took out a lot of the fluff, they said, and they sort of made it to where it's ready to run on like a more high-end system. And so what you've got here, and they had to do this, Boat, which is also mentioned in this story, because for distribution reasons, people wanted didn't necessarily want them to have the stuff from Cloanto, get all that stuff going on. So what they did was they were their hand was sort of forced, I guess, what I'm saying. And he says it started out with one of the guys on the team just tinkering around with it, and then one day they realized, hey, this thing, we could do something with this, and so they have worked hard on the OS, and it looked pretty good. I didn't get to see the whole show, but I got to see a good chunk of it up to the point where they were playing some games.
Yeah, I caught some of this. The game performance was not awesome. It was dropping frames like crazy, and
from what I heard, they also had all kinds of internet problems, and so some of the games, because I watched a video that guy put out where the games look pretty good. Some of them. So
maybe it was just a Twitch thing then.
It was both. It doesn't run everything perfectly. There's still some a lot of stuff it doesn't run, but I mean it looks like a pretty good effort, and it's. This is that sort of situation where you got to just tip your hat to the guys because they really don't have a choice,
right?
You know. They're doing what they got to do to get get some action, and so that's where it stands. So
this is going to benefit everybody once they get this thing out there. You get an open source replacement for all the Kickstart things. You don't have to go through Cloanto anymore if you don't want to. So I really appreciate what these guys are doing for sure.
Well, from what I read, and I asked around about this too, from people that are way smarter than me. And my question was, is this a possible replacement for lower-end classic machines? All right? And it's not. It's not. It's not meant for those machines. This will be for vampire machines and I think also some higher-end machines that aren't vampires, I think. But so you're not going to throw this on an Amiga 500, for example. It's not, which I thought would be interesting.
Yeah.
But still, it's interesting. And it's one of those things where necessity is the mother of invention, and that's what they're doing. They're going to work. So, and if you aren't keen on the whole vampire situation, you got to give the credit to these guys to go in there and sort of pull themselves up by the bootstraps and get it done. So I'll give these guys a lot of credit. You know.
All right, and this one just came up the other day on our Discord, Aaron. We talked about on This Week in Retro about how there is a new Macintosh operating system web, standalone thing. This seems like the first steps to getting to what I want, which is a self-contained exe file that basically runs all of Workbench with a shared folder, so you don't have to mess around with any presets. You just click and go. This is what's known as taws.ch, taws.ch, and you basically you are greeted with a screen to select your Workbench environment. So we will go with what's your favorite, Aaron?
I would say probably 3.1.
All right, we'll go with 3.1 plain. You hit the boot button, and boom! Almost instantaneously, this thing loads 3.1. Now,
that's neat.
Yeah, I don't think that there is any sort of sharing functionality here. Like, I don't think there's a way that you can locally load files. But this is the first step into getting there. I really like the way that this is set up. I always prefer 1.3. I think 3.1 looks hideous. It's like some bad Macintosh ripoff. But 1.3 actually has some character. So I always like to load this one up first. But It's a neat way to sort of investigate. There's a bunch of OSs that I've never even heard of, like 3.8 and stuff like that. So you can check that out. Again, taz.ch. Check it out in the show notes.
Can you do anything with it, both? I mean, can you?
No, not really. I mean, you can click around. All the links work. You can go in here to your presets. I'm sorry. I think actually some of the I think 3.1 actually has some more folders. But there are some folders that you can click around in. It's just like everything. I'm not sure what you do when you get here in any environment. What I do is I load up a game,
Yeah,
so,
right.
But
is this Java based or what is this, Bo?
I want to say that it is. I don't know that for sure, but I think that this is another example of one of those Java based emulators.
Kind of neat. I'd never heard of this. I think I did briefly see it pop up in Discord, but I didn't get to look at it. So it's interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. And finally, Aaron, our final story for today is that we want to give another bump to the Amiga 2020 art contest. The deadline, you still have plenty of time. It's not until October 11th, but it's been a while since we've mentioned it. And Tinmark and Pixel Vixen are in charge of this contest, and they are still looking for entries. You can submit original hand-drawn artwork, photo-edited work, 3D rendering, mod music, whatever you want. The only stipulation is that it must be created on an Amiga in one way or another.
And even the people that stuck in entries for the Amigathon contest, you can use those in this.
That's right.
Doug said you're good to go. So if you've already entered our contest that for the Amigathon, take your stuff, because literally, I think everything we got, with the exception of my hideous art and your as Lame Angelo, was gold, solid gold. It could all go into this contest and have a shot.
Yeah.
So I would stick it in there, man.
So AmigaArtwork.com to submit your entries.
Yeah.
All right, Aaron, that's going to do it for this week's news roundup. It's time to jump right into our game of the week, Tiny Little Slug.
This game was released a while back with some fanfare, Bo, not too long ago. I remember seeing the preview to this on Indie Retro News, so I was actually kind of excited to get to play it. I played the disc version. Which one did you play?
The disc version, yeah.
Disc version as well. And I knew that I was going to need save states, so I played this one. I actually used Amiga Forever to play this because I had to. Although really, I will say after playing it, I don't necessarily think you'd have to do it that way.
No,
but we'll get into that. So, Tiny Little Slug again just came out this year, published by APC and TCP, and developed by Makigai Studios. The coder on this was Andre Zeps. The graphics are spelled Cool Guy style for Explorer, and the music is from Slammy, also spelled Cool Guy style. And the box art, Thomas Boisset. So, and it does have a nice box art. This is one of those new gimmicks where you can buy the boxed copy with the disc and CD, or you can buy the boxed copy with the CD, or you can buy the CD, or you can just get the download mode. And there is a price platform, which I think you're probably going to want to talk about later. We'll get into that. This runs on a lot of stuff. This will run on basically like a pretty plain Jane Amiga, and it'll run all the way up to like a CD32. The one thing it won't do is run on NTSC Amigas.
Yeah. There are no NTSC Amigas. It's non-factor.
I've got several sitting here that say otherwise. So I'm looking at the minimum requirements here. Now, it will run on 512K of chip RAM and no fast RAM and Kickstart 1.3. So that's, remember, you always complain about these games requiring mega systems.
Not this one.
This is something that's ready to rock and roll on the lowest of the low end.
Yeah, man.
And if you want to run the hard drive version, you're going to need a little bit more jack. 6820 and a Kickstart 3.1, 512 chip, 512 other, and of course your hard drive space. And there's also an option for the CD32 gamepad. And this even has online scoring mode. So if you've got the Amiga set up where you're online, this has a live database of scores, like a scoreboard.
That's really cool. Yeah.
So, what is this game, Boat? It's a strange little game, really. You play a slug, so that it tells you what you are on the box. You're a tiny little slug, and your goal in this game, your ultimate goal, is to get the strawberry. Which that doesn't sound like much. But to get the strawberry, you go through the entire game.
Right.
So, not easy. And along the way, you're going to help out some other little critters that are having some problems. this is a game. I was thinking about this today before we did the show about how to explain what this game is. I mean, at its heart, I will say puzzle platformer. Although at first you're really not doing any platforming as you would normally do it because the slug can't jump.
Well,
really,
I think that it's still fair to call it a platformer. There's
Yeah.
nothing about the platformer genre that says you have to be able to jump. You're still traversing platforms. I would call this an exploration puzzle platformer.
There you go. Well, that's very well categorized, Boat. Now later on, you can earn the ability to jump, but at first you can't. You just crawl around. So, what's the gimmick here? Well, the slug can crawl up and down on ceilings, the whole 9 yards, but he can't go around corners on crawling. He can jump. He can basically fall to a certain square to go. So basically, he could go from one hanging area to another within a certain little space.
Mm-hmm.
So he can get around pretty well. But what this means is you have to take crazy routes to get to stuff. Sometimes to get around stuff, and that's the game really. The game is set up around the wacky things you have to do just to traverse a room. You know, you'll have to go multiple ways to get through these different levels. Along the way, your slug will encounter stuff like spikes, stuff falling from the ceiling, including blocks like stalagmites or stalactites, I should say.
Get it right.
Yeah, I know. Hey, listen, I learned that last time I was at a cave. You know, stalactites, hold on tight, right? Also, you'll also have to encounter all kinds of little critters that will kill you. Everything from little bouncing blobs to like bees. To all kinds of wacky stuff. Plus, there are also boss battles you have to take on. The game starts you off in you basically jump into a big hole. That's how the game starts.
Yeah, you see the strawberry on the other side of the chasm, and you fall into a hole.
The game is split up into several different levels. You've got just basically your dirt level. Then you'll eventually go into an ice level. Where everything's frozen. Then you'll go into like a lava level where everything's real hot. Then you have to basically get out of that level as lava comes up at you, which is real exciting. Then you will go into there's a whole second cavern you go into. That's the second half of the game. There's a lot of diversity in here. And like I said, as you go through and do these little missions for your fellow little bugs and whatnot, you'll be rewarded with different powers. One power is the ability to jump. One power is the ability to not be affected by spikes. When you go to the ice level, your slug will get cold, and as he gets cold and starts freezing, his health takes a hit.
Right.
And so but before that, I wish I'd known this before I tried to get to the cold level without it. That you can get a hot pepper, and that makes it so he doesn't automatically lose life.
That's physically the only way you can survive that level.
Well, I know that now, but see, because you don't have to go get it. I didn't know about it, so I just kept going through the ice level, and I made it pretty far before I was like, I can't get any further than this. But what were your initial impressions with this game?
I was very impressed from the get-go. This game features a tutorial that explains the mechanics of the game when it loads. It's like, you're a slug. You can go over these, you can go over these types of corners, but other types of corners you can't go over. And it spells out the rules from the get-go. That was very, very welcome to me.
Yeah, it tells you everything you need to know to play the game.
Right. And it does it all in one screen. There's not 87 pages of background text. The game did not feature a novella that you had to read to get the hints that you needed. This game is colorful. It utilizes the full OCS, color palette. The background music that plays is very nice. Yeah. There's a lot of personality in the enemies. I think that, of course, this is a very, you could call it a cutesy game. Everything's very cute in it, which appeals to me. I like the fact that enemies, they move in predictable ways. A lot of this game is pattern memorization, where you are looking at the patterns that things are falling off the ceiling or things are flying around, and you're saying, okay, how can I get from here to there within this amount of time period without getting hit? Now, that said, this game I found it to be quite difficult from the get-go. You have a life meter. You get 99 points of health. I would call this a flaw in the game design. I think you'd be much better off with a multiple heart thing, like 4 hearts, and then each hit takes away 1, because whenever you get hit by various things, it's not always the same amount of hit points that are taken off. Like if something just glances you, it might only take 10 points off, but if something hits you full on, like you can get destroyed in like 2 hits.
Stuff will stay on you and continue to damage you.
Yeah. And I found that to be frustrating. I think that hit detection on the whole is one of this game's faults. That said, I felt like when I did progress through a particular level, I felt a real sense of accomplishment because I knew that I had done it. I'd put in the time to figure out what the secret was. I just feel like because of the hit detection and because of some of the controls, they could have made it a little bit easier. Now, I only played this on the normal difficulty level. I didn't play it on like the baby level or whatever, and I didn't play it on the like extreme level. So maybe you can talk more about the easy level and what was different about that. We're watching my playthrough, so you're seeing this is all the time that I forgot. I didn't know about the hot pepper, which is why I keep dying over and over again. Yeah.
I can tell you, I played on the weenie level because I am a weenie, and actually, this may baffle you. I didn't think it was that tough, and that's probably because I was on the easy level. So lo and behold, that sounds like they probably got that part right.
Yeah. I probably should have backed it off. The problem is that I get frustrated with games when they, instead of just calling it easy, they call it too easy. Then I feel like they're insulting me as a man.
That's okay. They can. Hey, listen, I can't be any more insulted. There's nothing this game can do that I haven't heard already. So just the heck with it. Baby me up, brother. So, but yeah, I took the easy level. I'll tell you something. This game, right out of the gate, I'm loading this thing up, and I can tell this is a whole different animal here than we're used to with these newer games. This thing comes up with great music. There's splash. There's a nice opening.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell, okay, someone knows what they're doing.
Somebody gave a crap, is what I like to say.
Well, I mean, no, it's just that. Listen,
let's be honest. Most of the games that we play on this show,
I can't put all this stuff in that I want to see in a game, but they did.
Right,
I like that.
What I mean is most of the games that we play on this show were created under time constraints of one type or another. And it's obvious that the people that designed most of the games that we play weren't able to put in every single thing that they probably wanted to. When you have an independently produced game like this that's essentially done on the author's free time, he can make it as polished as he wants it to be, or she can be, she can make it as polished as she wants it to be.
Right. Well, I think they right out of the gate, I thought it looked good. So when it starts up, like you said, you covered it nicely. The opening, the demo. Because I'm like, this thing, I had an idea of what this was from seeing it on Indie Retro News, just a little tidbit of it. And I thought to myself when I saw it, it's like, man, this looks like it could be tough or annoying. And they demonstrate it perfectly. They explain exactly how the slug works, and that's all I needed to see. And so the demo at the beginning was perfect. You pick your selection, you start off, you're in, and right away, the first couple screens, they don't mirage you, at least on the level I played. You've got time to figure out what you're doing. The first couple of screens are just trying to figure out how do you get around. I appreciated all that. The music was good. The music changed on the different levels. I like the music. So what do we got here? We've got a game with sound effects and music that looks good. What else do you have? Well, the controls. I didn't have any trouble with the hit detection myself. Now, again, I was playing on the easier level, but I mean, the one thing that you can't. I think I could play off what you said with the hearts. I like the system I thought they give you a pretty good amount of health, but the one thing they don't do that I think would save this system is to give you at least a second of invulnerability when you get hit.
Yeah.
If you did that, then you'd have something, because like Boat said, you can get killed. You can have full heart, and if one of these little bees or little doodads gets like on top of you, you're boned. It can kill you like that, like super quick. So it would help to have it's a few seconds of time to get away, because also you're a slug. It's not like this guy's bounding off. It's hard for him to move around.
Here's another thing that this game does right, is that they follow the current convention in platformers in that they do not give you a set amount of lives. You have unlimited lives in this game. Yeah. If you don't pass, there are checkpoints aplenty. If you die, you just go back to the last checkpoint and you try again.
Yeah, and the checkpoint system, I want to talk about this. This checkpoint system's the answer to the problem we've had with so many games, Bode, including games that I love, like Lionheart, for example, as that they have these incredibly long levels. All you have to do is do what this game did. Put a checkpoint system in, that you go back to when you die, and it replenishes your health. That's
I like
it.
the fact that it's a visible checkpoint system too, because if you can see that checkpoint just lurking around the corner, you're like, all right, I can do this. I just need to make it this much for, and it's very it makes you feel encouraged.
And even if you die, you'll know that where the next checkpoint is. It helps. Plus, another little gimmick you can do is if you checkpoint up, and then you go somewhere where you need to end up going back, you can just get yourself killed, and they'll take you back to the checkpoint. Nothing lost, and that way you don't have to go back through a lot of stuff that you didn't have to. You don't feel like going back through. So you can sort of use it as a quick travel too, occasionally. But the checkpoint system is a huge boon for this game. The lack of the lives, like I said, that makes this game is surprisingly approachable for an Amiga game, which I appreciate because you could put your kid on this, and they can have a pretty good time and not get super frustrated. Now, this game does not hold your hand. Like we talked about on the ice level of this, we should mention that these levels are pretty much all joined up. So it's not like the game there's only a few times where the game actually exits to a loading screen. For the most part, this stuff pretty much keeps on going. And so, but it doesn't tell you where to go or what to do. I mean, it's sort of the levels sort of lead you in a direction, but they don't.
Yeah, I mean, this is another trend in sort of modern platforming. There's a game called Ori and the Blind Forest that's a lot like this, where there are levels and there are environments, but they're all connected together, and the game encourages you to explore and to find alternate paths and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it works. I haven't played a lot of the more modern stuff, but I like this trend. If this is the way it is, I thought it was refreshing, to be honest with you. Boat put on a harder level than me, but on the level I played, I had pretty good success. I made it past the first boss, which for me is a pretty good. It was hard.
That was where I checked out. I could not beat that first boss on the regular level. One
thing you learn, Boat, is that and we should mention that the boss. First of all, this game has boss battles, which is cool. I believe it's got 3. I think it's got the first guy you fight, which is in the frost area. It's got a lava guy. And then it's got a duck.
Right.
I think that's all of them. And the first guy you fight, you have to. It's a big block that bounces around, and you've got to basically position him to have stalactites drop on his head and hurt him. The key to this guy is in the middle of the room. There's a little tiny space that's up in the air that's just wide enough for your slug. If you sit there, he can't really hit you, and so you can let him do his thing until it's safe. Then you run up, get up on the wall, and have the stalactite come down on him, and then you run back to that. It took me forever to get past him, and I had to watch another guy do it before I could figure out the trick.
I should have checked out a Let's Play and learned the technique, because again, this game is all about pattern memorization. Now, it is sort of cheating to do that, because that is the game, is like once you know the pattern, you can do it. But it was really frustrating. I spent 20 minutes on that boss, and I still couldn't beat him.
Yeah. Now, the second level, something else this game does that I like. It mixes it up, okay? So the second level is where you get onto the lava. You're down here, and you're confronted with this creature that says, "Listen, my friend is thirsty. He needs a bunch of water." And so basically, your mission in the second level, in this fire level, is to get all the cups of water. Okay, so what you have to do is just go through the level looking for the cups. You need all of them that you can find, and they're not easy to get. But what you're doing in that level is more of a collection thing. Okay. I mean, the first level, you're going to get a couple items for people, but this one is the whole level is collecting these things. And when you finally get enough water to make the guy happy, you can fight the end boss, which is sort of like the first end boss, except this guy, he spits fire down on you, and every once in a while, at first, he'll spit fire and then come crashing down to the floor, and then if you're not there, he'll hurt himself. But after a while, he becomes immune to that. But then he starts spitting fire plus a thing. And when the thing hits the floor, you move, and he'll come crash down onto the thing, and that will hurt him, and eventually he'll die. And then what makes this interesting is, so you beat the boss, then that level starts filling up with lava, and your slug has to get out of the level. I don't know how anyone could do this, but I watched the guy do it. But one thing I like, it's different. You're not just doing the same thing over and over. That makes it fun. They're adding variants to it. The music changes and stuff. And then the third level is you go down and try to get this duck, which is also entertaining. It's just a big duck. But now that is the game. I would say the game is not real long, frankly, but you do get a lot of gameplay in there if you are learning. This is a game. I'm not sure how much replay value it's got. I'm not sure you're going to come back and play this over and over, because like Boat said, once you've got the gimmick, you could probably get through most of it, and some of it's just some people better than me can probably get through it a lot quicker. I'm not. It would probably take me a good while to beat it, but that would be the replay value, just trying to beat it. But
now it is worth saying that even though there are checkpoints in this game, there is no save game system built in. So if you are looking to have like a multi-session play, you're going to want to use an emulator with save states.
I think I read that the hard drive version does let you save.
Oh, okay.
Now, we didn't try that one, but I think I read that. I know the disc version doesn't. You have to play it in one session. But that's not a huge deal if you've got, like I said, if you're emulating. And if you're playing on real hardware, you takes your chances, basically. So there you go. We should talk about the way it looks, the way the game looks when you on the different levels. They do a good job. The levels are totally different, in terms of the textures. There's this sort of like, what would you, multi-layer slight parallax on some levels.
It's a very subtle parallax scrolling. It's not like Shadow of the Beast where it's in your face. This you really have to look for it, and in a way it's more impressive because of it.
The lava level, there's like occasionally you'll come across an area where there's like a lava stream that sort of comes down in front of the action to give that some sort of depth. I mean, it's a small thing, but I appreciated it because it was there and they took the time to put it in. I mean, this thing is not as pretty as some games, but it's still pretty darn good. And if you consider that it's running on the old chipset, not too bad. I mean, I think they do a good job. But of course, a game like this, gameplay is the ticket. So if you have decent visuals, that's just like icing on the cake.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this game, the chipset really has little to nothing to do with it. It's all about how the art is drawn, and you can tell that real care was taken. Like even on these stalactites, like they could have cheaped out on any number of these things and really just skimped on the details. But almost everything in this game is just drawn with a lot of precision, and it's a lot of tile-based things, like a lot of platformers. But I was really impressed with the care that was taken. I think that on the whole, the Slug as a dude, he has some animation. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more idle animation, because you do spend a lot of time waiting around as the Slug as you're watching enemy patterns and things like that. It would have been cool to watch like a little ripple of his slug flesh go by, or watch his eyes dart back and forth a little bit. That would have been fun. But overall, I think that, it is a very pretty game.
I think, one thing I think is, we always rag on the various characters, mascots in Amiga games. I will say these guys they went for the less is more approach, and the game is Tiny Little Slug, and here's the Slug. Mm-hmm. He's a little slug. He's not the least bit cool. He doesn't occasionally get up and go like, hey, he's a slug. Yeah. He's not cool in any way.
Right.
And so that's sort of his gimmick.
And it sort of makes him cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I mean, this guy's not going to win you any, it's not going to be a launch title on your next console, but I mean, I think for this game, he works perfectly. There's a lot to like in this one, Boat. I'll be honest with you, I came in a little trepidatious because I wasn't sure if it was going to be my kind of game. Because when I hear puzzle platform, I'm like, oh boy, whatever. But I mean, this is a fun game. There's plenty of action. I mean, the puzzles aren't going to you don't have to rip your brains out. It's just the puzzle aspect is just figuring out how to get to certain places, and it's not that hard to figure that out.
Yeah, now, I think I'm going to have to go back and play this again on the easy mode and see how far I can get, because I did enjoy this, and not having to deal with the amount of enemies that might that probably will help things. And I'm also curious about how the boss battle is now that I know the secret of the boss. Where you just stand on that middle platform. That'll make things a lot easier too.
Now, this game is a modern game, so you can actually go out when we purchased this thing, and you can go out and buy the game. You can't just go out and download it at your leisure. Now, you're asking yourself, where can I get it? What does it cost? Well, you can get it at a bunch of different places. I saw selling it. What's it cost? Now, I looked at the prices on here. I don't know if you've got them in front of you, Boat, and normally, personally, I don't give a crap about the price generally, because we're playing stuff that's been long out of date. But when it comes to something that's brand new, we got to get onto the price a little bit just to talk about it.
Sure.
So this game comes in several flavors. The cheapest possible way you can get this game is just to download the archive. Okay. And again, keeping in mind that if you're on an NTSC computer, you're out of luck. So you got to emulate that. But if you're on a Palican machine, you're good to go. You can download the archive of this thing, and I believe I looked at the exchange rate before we went on, and it was like 20, like we're around $23.
Well, I can tell you exactly how much it was because I paid for it. Remember?
Right? How much was it when you bought
So
it?
it was like $26, including tax, several different forms of VAT, exchange rate manipulation. I'm pretty sure there was a KGB guy that was taking a cut. So it was I think $26 out the door.
Now, what do you think about? That's a little on the high side for an archive file, right? But what do you is the value there for you, Bo? What do you think?
This game is a $10 game. This game is a $10 game. It's a great game. It is not worth the price that they're asking. No way, no how. There are AAA titles that sell for $26. I personally rarely buy any game that is that expensive. When you look at the quality of independently developed titles that are coming out on Steam every day, there are games that wipe the floor with this in terms of polish that sell for half as much. This is as much as I love this game. If we were not playing this game, and I'm happy to buy it because the game selection committee chose it for us, I would not suggest that you buy this game for this price. Wait for a sale. I'm sure that it will go down in price eventually. This game should have been $10 for the download and $25 for the physical copy.
Well, I'm looking at the prices here for the other versions, so we should go ahead and talk about it, and I'll give you my thoughts. So if you want the whole ball of wax, which is the CD plus the floppy plus the download version, the box, the whole 9 yards, you're in for 32 euros, which I'm guessing that's what about $45 a boat? Does that sound about right?
Maybe a little less than that. Yeah.
The CD version plus the download is 29 euros, and then the floppy disk version plus the download is also 29 euros. So you can get those versions, and so you're really not paying a whole lot more to get a better the box version. This one, a few times. Probably recommend something tangible for your money, and I don't think those prices are. I don't think that's too much to ask for the versions, because they also come with the download. So what I would do is probably buy the floppy disk version, and unless you have a CD32, I'd buy the floppy disk version, and then get the download and put it on whatever I'm playing my Amiga stuff on. Now, as for the price, $29 is steep. I will admit that. However, I will say this. We've looked at some of these more recent releases, and we've often lamented that we're not getting a more awesome game, a more awesome modern game. And I think this is one of the best ones we've played. I think this is a really good game. I think I would almost say it's worth it, except for the fact that it's not super long, and that's a problem. If you can beat a game. If you've only got a couple hours worth of gameplay,
yeah. Well, here's the thing, though. You've got more than a couple hours worth of gameplay in this thing.
What I'm saying is,
when you watch a speedrunner do a game in 2.5 hours, that doesn't mean that the game is a 2.5 hour game.
I watched a normal guy who died a lot get through the whole game in 40 minutes. So I'm not saying I could beat it then, but I'm saying you're probably talking. You could probably, if you sit down and played it for a while, 5-10 hours, you could probably get through the whole game. When you're going into the realm of paying $30 for a digital download, that's a little pricey for the amount of action you're going to get there. I probably would say $10. Sure, that'd be a heck of a deal, but I would even go into the $15 or $20 realm total with tax and everything. I think it's a little bit pricey.
Listen, I'm just telling you, this is. When you make a game and you put it for sale, you want to maximize your sales. And it's proven that if you charge less, you'll sell more in volume, And when you price your physical release, when you price your physical release at like 5% more than your digital download, then you haven't done your margins right. I mean,
it's weird, isn't it?
It's just not smart. It's not a smart business decision. And so it's a shame. I like this game, but I don't think that it's right for this price point.
My guess would be, Boat, that the reason they price the digital out like that is to move more of the physical copies.
Maybe you're right.
And I will say it may work. Listen, people pay hordes and hordes of money for Amiga stuff, so I don't see why the software should be any different than the hardware. I mean, I'm not surprised. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm not surprised by the cost. But if you take the cost out of the equation, this is an easy recommendation for me.
And there is a demo that you can download. They don't make it easy to find. This is.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
I didn't know about that.
This is available on. You can go to. I think if you just search for Tiny Little Slug demo, it'll take you to the site. Another problem that I have with the way this game is that the purchase process was insane. Okay, so normally when you buy a digital version of a game, they send you a code. And this actually had to be invoiced, and then I had to pay the invoice. It was a very strange thing. And it wasn't horrible, but when you're used to buying, like I buy a lot of Commodore 64 games on itch.io, where it's a very painless process where you just run through the thing and you download the file and you pay for your game and you're good to go. But this is sold on, I think, Amiga Net or something like that. It's one of the European Amiga sites.
All right. Well, that's good insight, Boat. Because there's no way I could have known that. Yeah. Hey, listen, I've almost bought plenty of things, and when the pricing and when the actual purchasing of the thing gets kind of weird, I'll back out. That right there will kill sales. When you've got a sketchy checkout system.
Yeah, I would not. Like I said, I would not have gone through with this if not for the AGSC. But again, we play what the AGSC picks, and I'm glad that I did because this is a great game.
Oh, yeah. I think it's a really good game. Like I said, if it was to do over again, which I would probably fall into their trap, I would just get the floppy disk box.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to purchase this, go that route. Just go. That way you get something tangible for your money. Like I said, the box looks good. I think you get a couple little goodies in there, too. How that's the new thing. I will say, Boat, I've been looking at physical copies of other systems, C64 in particular. And I would say the price for this box is more than competitive. I think it's funny. This is one of the few times where I'd say the digital version isn't competitive, but the box version is more than competitive. I think the box version is a halfway decent deal.
Yeah, I don't have any. You can charge as much as you want for the box version because at that point you're talking about a tangible product that has to go through manufacturing.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what your factory setup is. I don't know what your premiums are and stuff like that. And so if you want to charge $50 for the box version, and you want to use really high quality card stock for your manual and really good box material, I'm all for that, man. But when it comes to just downloading a raw file, it's a hard sell at the current price.
Yeah, but like I said, and I think Boat says this as well, taking the price out, it's an excellent game. Excellent game. I was surprised, Boat. I'll be honest with you, I was real surprised on this one. That's pretty much all I got. We know the price. There you go. Go get it.
All right. Well, we did get a couple Discord reviews, Aaron.
All right, what you got?
And some of these, I believe, were based off the download or the demo version, so keep that in mind. First one comes from Pixels at Dawn, who I believe has played the full release. He says, "This is a game I've had my eye on for a little while. It's a good concept and away from the usual platforming fare, with the wall climbing mechanics being relatively rare in gaming. Steg the Slug from Codemasters and Globjewel from Psygnosis come to mind. Quite hard to get right, and while the controls can be a bit fiddly at times, they work well enough for you to feel comfortable when moving around. The puzzle solving based on negotiating each screen is good, and it's unusual to have to think so laterally just to move your character, but other puzzles such as how to deal with the cold areas can be a little obscure. This could easily be helped with some UI elements. Graphically, the game looks really nice with some solid parallax and cute sprites, and the music and sound effects don't wear thin. Unfortunately, Tiny Little Slug is quite expensive for a relatively short game, and sadly this will mean it won't be seen by many. 7.5 out of 10. And Graham writes just a little comment. He says, "I'm usually happy to throw some coin at modern developers on our beloved Amigas and ZX Spectrums. For a game that is in my currency almost the same price as games like Cuphead, even if you do like this game's demo, I can't see the value of asking prices here. So I'd personally rather support homebrew titles like Magenta Gem, Wudang, UFO, and Block Z on the ZX Spectrum and still have money left for the cost of this for a coffee."
I didn't realize that was going to be, both the reviewers mentioned that, and we went on about it for quite a while. So that tells me that people agree that it's just a little bit too pricey. I should mention before we go, Boat, while there are no reviews on this, Lemon does have a score for it, and the people over at Lemon, which, by the way, we should mention this, speaking of Lemon, Lemon's forums got hacked this week, which is sad. And so Lemon needs support. Everyone, or at least a kind comment, the people that run Lemon, that is we love that service. I don't know if we could get along without Lemon.
No.
They are the best, and they've always been very nice to us too, haven't they both?
Yeah. The guys at Lemon are super, super nice guys. I had a chance to talk to the guy that's currently running the site at Amiga Ireland. I guess the latest news is that the site was not hacked as much as they thought it was. There were just a lot of passwords because it wasn't. I guess because it's hard to know, because at first they said it was because it didn't have SSL, but then they said, well, it's just the low-level passwords that got hacked, so they were able to brute force with just 1, 2, 3, 4 and easy passwords like that. I don't know what the real story is, but definitely send those guys some love. It's been a rough week for them.
Anyways, nevertheless, the people over there gave this game a pretty decent score of an 8.11 vote. So a game that's unusual and interesting, and it's exactly what we wanted. Games that are fun for the older systems. Big thumbs up for me.
Yeah. All right, Aaron, we do want to thank all of our Twitch subscribers. If you want to support Amigos through Twitch, you can subscribe to us either through Amazon Prime or just a regular old Twitch sub. We also want to thank all the folks that have joined us here in the chat. We record Amigos live every Friday night around 4 o'clock, and you can join in the fun just like these guys. Another TT viewer, Atten, Barkbit, Bitstorm, Bomb6 the Base, Buck Owens, Commander Root, Cowbird Boy, Dedicated Lurking 9 to 5, Delamort 78, Duncan Styles, Edvin Helen, Figgy 78, Frodo NL, Gimlet 72, Jugglebox, Hermsky, Jan Holbro, Jason Warrens, Johnny Renegade, Kasserin, L. Curtis B, Leaf Killand, Lurks, Mitsuyama, Olav Hope, Old B Sturgeon, Paul Kitching, Picard 2010, Polyester Links, Real Joe the Zombie, Remastino, Rob O'Hara, Tanonjang, The Retro Man Cave, Treyguard 82, V&K, Vigoro Pros, and Z9K9. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Hey, Bo, we got a couple pieces of work before I forget about it.
Okay, man.
My friend. Let's talk international.
Oh, yeah,
Computer Club, Boat. We're putting something together. We're not sure what it is yet, but it's something, Boat. And what it's going to be is International Computer Club. It's a big name for a big concept, Boat. We're going to gather all of our chums, all of our computer-owning chums that are a part of our Discord, and have one blockbuster International Computer Club meeting September 12th, Boat. And the sign-up sheet has just went up in the International Computer Club part of the Discord. It's a very simple sheet put together by an absolute idiot. And all you've got to do is put your name in there if you'd like to go on early or late in the show, or you don't care, and what you're going to do and how long you need. And then that's it. Now, we're going to use this to gauge interest and see how many people, how long this is going to go, what we need to do to get it ready. We think we're going to use the Zoom or Zoom-like software to have a big, good time with everybody, showing off what they're working on, showing off their game room, whatever you want to do. I know Carter said they want to talk about some a Coco thing. Sure, no problem. This is International Computer Club. Any computer, any console, go crazy. We're going to have a good time. So if you're interested, pop over to the Discord, International Computer Club, and sign yourself up. And this is open for anyone to come watch when it happens. So you don't have to be a member of our Discord if you just want to come and join the live chat.
Yeah, and it will be streamed right here on Twitch.
That's right. Bode, a shout out to our new social media expert. Give him some love here.
That's right. We want to welcome Duncan Styles to the team. He has taken over for us as our social media czar. If you follow us on Facebook or on Reddit or everywhere but Twitter, I'm still doing the Twitter, but he has been knocking it out of the park. When I'd post stuff on there, we might get 10 or 20 people looking at it, mostly thumbs down. When Dunk posts a video, thousands of people just hailing his name from around the world. So thank you so much, Duncan.
I appreciate you, Duncan. And social media I'm not my strong point, Bo. Once Google Plus went under, I was toast.
I saw you tweet that picture of that barbed wire match today. People love that sort of stuff. Let me tell you.
Hey, you got to admit that's something you've never seen before, isn't it?
It's true. I hope I never see it again.
Oh, come on, Bo. Anyway, thanks, Dunk.
Last week, Aaron, nobody got the Patreon song. Okay. Now, that disappointed me. It was the Kinko Man soy sauce song. Are you aware of the Kinko Man soy sauce song? Show me,
I'm
show
not.
you, Kinko Man. This was very popular in the early Flash internet days. Okay, I don't know if this was a real commercial or not. I'll post it on the Discord later on. But I was hopeful that somebody would remember it, but nobody did. So
Yeah.
0 for 0 on the Patreon
Your tastes
song
are
last week.
obscure and wrong, but
Yeah. We did get a new Patreon supporter this week, so we'd like to give a special welcome to Frag Lord number 6620.
Frag Lord. With that many numbers behind you, you know you're tough.
That's right. That's right.
Good Lord. Thank
So-
you, Frag.
If you know the name of this week's Patreon song, send me an email at john@amigospodcast.com and I will announce you as a winner on next week's show. Frag Lord 6620, cello code marked by Lino Love, Hope Hermsky, Jonah A.K., Simulant, Jeremy, Ethan, Little Alien Breeder, Dave Velociraptor, Calvert Boy, Joe Fuchs, Langdon Son, Luke Hudson. John Cook bombed the base Roshi, Frodo in El Sol and Sazatec Mage, Jurgen Mr. Cola, Daniel Williams, Bernard Lucas, Jerry Dennington, Zorglub, Commodore Kid, Reflection, Simon Lech, Cap and Crispy, Kilobytes and Caffeine, Gary Heather, Free Lunch, Kate Fox, David Pickford, Cameron Armstrong, Andy Jones, Lobsterminator, 10-minute Amiga Retrocast, Bernard Quinn, Retro Man Cave, Tim Drew, Simon Rose, Joseph Harrison, Kyle Leder, Rob O'Hara, Matthew Lara Moore, Andy Craig, Shanzo Barkbid, Roland Burke, Andrew Monk Show the Zombie, Leif Kelland, Alan Kebab, Checo Level, Lord John Marshall, Matthew Pell and Ricky DeRocha, Creepy Dead Boy Figgy, CTZ, Stefan Sorgan, Mortensen, Edvin Helen Blendo 75, Christopher Hessel, Ravi Abbott, Chris Foles, Dreamcatcher, Lauren, Giroux, Graham, Fabke, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro Vintage, Gary Hucker, Paul Bossman, Harrington, Duncan Styles, Taze from the Crypt, Josh Nan, Adam Bradley, Jonas Rulo, THT, Eric Nelson, Kim Tommy, Humbertstadt, Daniel Bingston, Brutal Barracuda, Darren Coles, Jason Warnes, Pixels at Dawn, and Kjolbjorn Barman.
You know, that was hideous, of course, but that's the first one you've done for months that I knew. So you and I got that one.
All right. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad somebody
I can tell
did.
your operation was affecting you in an adverse way.
Next week, Aaron, we're going to play a game, I'm sorry to say, is AGA only.
Yes.
I can see those
You know it's
gradients
gold.
now.
You know it's gold.
Those gradients and those out of control, memory expectations.
Let's hope there's some Euro trash dance music in there too, Bode.
We can only hope. Roadkill. Roadkill is the name of the game. This was
Okay.
suggested by Amigos Game Selection Committee member, Bossman, Paul.
Is there a non-AGA version of that?
I don't know. I don't know
I'm
if there is
looking
or
right
there's
now.
not. But
Oh, nope, you're screwed.
yeah, we will be playing it next week no matter what. And we will see you then on next week's Amigos. We'll see you guys next time. Until then, adios.